Hey everybody, it's time for another market update. It is May 2024. We're into the second quarter. We're going to bring you a stats update, data update, and we're going to talk a little bit about the NAR lawsuit and the repercussions of that. So let's jump right into things. Heather, you're going to jump us off here and...
Yeah, I'll go over the stats since that's a little bit easier than the NAR lawsuit, National Association of Realtors lawsuit, that I'm sure every single one of you watching has heard at least something about, and there's still so much false information. But first, jumping into the stats, so prices, the SLO County median for residential, which we always pull from the CRMLS, is now at $855. It's up from last month, but it was $858 2 months ago. So the graph has just kind of been bouncing around with values holding. The days on market is down to 10, like lower than we've seen in 2 years. But the reason why I don't think it feels like that to most of us is because it's now such a price sensitive market with rates holding where they are, that if a listing is just a little overpriced, it's sitting. So there's a bunch of listings sitting on the market for months, and then the ones that actually sell are the ones that are averaging 10 days on the market. It's priced well and selling right away. The number of sales is still low. With the rates high, the inventory will stay low. That's just what's gonna go on, and so that means a lower number of sales. We had 228 last month, and the months of inventory is also low, of course, at 5, which includes the active, under contract, and pending listings. So nothing too like one way or the other with stats. So there are a lot of people out there talking about this realtor lawsuit that are saying that's what's going to change the market, that when these big changes come down, which is now looking like towards the end of July. We had a video last month of kind of like an overview of what might happen if the settlement gets approved. Now it looks like the settlement is going to go forward. That's pretty clear. But all this talk about sellers reducing their price, like that's what the Department of Justice was looking for, is that if sellers weren't obligated to pay a buyer's agent, that they would just lower their prices and it would make it easier for buyers.
I can hold my breath for that.
That's not the way that sellers think about their property, and the change that's required, the two major changes that are required by the settlement as it appears to be going forward, neither of those require for the buyer to pay the commission or the seller to lower the price. We just have two things that are the major changes: that realtors can no longer offer a buyer's compensation through our multiple listing service. And then the other one is that buyers will need to sign an agreement with their realtor. So it's really harder for buyers all the way around. But I do think it's good that buyers will be signing an agreement before showings, because we all live in such a fast-paced world. And it's easy to fall into the trap of just like convenience buying with a realtor that you happen to know, oh, they can show me a house. If I have to be slowed down because I have to sign a contract before I can even start the process of buying something, I'm going to be more scrutinizing about who that is that I'm going with. And I think that is a really good thing. I think that should lead to an improvement in our industry. I think that when buyers have to stop and think about who they want as their professional, that means the agents that aren't doing a really good job and really professional aren't going to get as many clients, and maybe they'll just like hop on out of the business, and the caliber of agents that are left will be better for buyers and for the sellers. I mean, I think most sellers want to have a good buyer's agent on the other side too, so it really is good for everybody. And then maybe that point of slowing down and evaluating before signing a contract will lead to buyers looking at evaluating who they want to be their lender in the same way, and that'll be a good thing too.
I agree. I think lenders have already gone through a version of this back in 2010 after the collapse and all the regulations that have changed, and buyers can still change their mind at the very last minute as opposed to a buyer-broker agreement. So it does empower the consumer. Is it going to have an impact on the industry? again, as all the points that Heather just made, there will be some impact, but big picture, I don't think it's going to slow down or change the way we all operate. It's going to make everybody a little bit more professional and give consumers better representation.
Yeah, and once that happens, which the timelines now, we're expecting California Association of Realtors to come out with the actual forms that we'll be using for that buyer representation in about a month-ish. We're still waiting on one more California law as far as what the length of those contracts can be, and then they can finalize those agreements and issue them out to us. And then it's looking like the end of July for when that requirement will roll into place, that we can no longer take a buyer through a house without that buyer broker agreement. So once that all comes down, we'll bring you guys another video with more information. You can of course get a copy of that contract from us at any time once we have it, if you want to breeze it over and be a little bit more ready for when you're going to buy a house. Everybody wants to know, why did the Fed do what they just did with, we were all looking towards May for rates to come down, and now that's not happening. Why?
Well, I think it came out a little while ago that the May meeting was going to be a pause, and it was the last month's job report. We'll get this month's job report tomorrow, so that'll carry a fair amount of weight, but there's also a couple of inflation reports last month that were hotter than anticipated, and that's what took the first cut off the table for the May meeting. They still do expect a couple of cuts later this year. I've heard between the September meeting, the November, even the December. But not the July like we'd all hoped, and I'd love to be wrong on that, of course. Powell went out of his way yesterday in his announcement to say the next move would be a cut because there was so much talk of another hike after the inflation reports were hotter than they anticipated. And the markets did like it. Mortgage bonds ended up, and they're up today. Stocks went up after that, after they kind of ate it in the morning. So historically, the Fed does not control mortgage rates because that's an overnight rate between the government and banks, and mortgage rates are, of course, long-term. However, this last hike cycle went in lockstep. The Fed went up 5%, mortgage rates went up 5%. It's going to be about inflation and jobs. And the last jobs report, is a little bit rosier than actual when you peel back the layers. So it's going to take a little bit of reality for the jobs report to show that it's really people getting multiple jobs and seasonal work and things that aren't as sustainable as long-term jobs to support the rosier numbers. Unfortunately, I think this is kind of the new normal, and I do believe that time is still the enemy. I think a few months ago we were saying, hey, rates are going to come down, and as soon as rates come down, the national statistic is every 1% decrease in rate, there's 5 million new buyers in the country that are now qualified. So when you localize that, it still brings more people to the market, which just means rates are prices are going to continue to go up. Home prices will continue to go up. If rates stay the same and you buy now, and rates actually go down, fantastic, you'll refinance and you win. And if rates go down later and you waited, now you're going to be competing against higher prices and more borrowers. And if rates go up, you're going to be happy that you bought now. So I still believe time is the enemy because I do not believe home prices will cooperate in terms of, going down.
We don't see anything on the horizon to suggest that there's going to be any kind of dramatic fall in value. So it still makes perfect sense not to wait if you can. Some people just truly can't. Our area to live is beautiful and valuable, and people have discovered it, and it's not affordable for every buyer out there. There's some strategies like rate buy down that Ken can walk you through. If you can be qualified, Ken will get you qualified, but we don't see that the future is going to be more affordable.
There is still a great strategy to employ. So back when we thought rates were going down, hey, let's do a temporary buy down, which means let's say the rates are 7.25 and you do a 2-year temporary buy down, you get 5.25 for a year, 6.25 for a year, and if you have not refinanced by year 3, it goes to 7.25 for the remaining life of the loan. So we thought, hey, rates will cooperate within those first 2 years, and hopefully they will still, but if things are going to stabilize and not go as fast as we want, that's still a fantastic strategy to make it a little bit more palatable. I don't want to say that the rate doesn't matter, obviously it does, but we all really operate on our budget and the payment, and that's truly what we're buying. It's worth the risk to get into the market sooner than later because history has proven appreciation is pretty bulletproof in this area.
And there are listings that are sitting, so it isn't always going to be the case either that you have to offer over asking to get a credit. There are plenty of listings out there that
100%.
The seller will pay a credit even if you don't offer full price. It's definitely listing to listing. Some of them are more hot.
Okay, so bottom line here, what should buyers do? Buyers should stay patient, right? Stay focused, get in contact with a professional agent and a professional mortgage broker, and be ready. So buyers, the right house is going to come up for you at some point here, whatever that might be, so you just need to be prepared. And now what do sellers need to do to be ready?
The main thing for sellers right now is realizing that it's such a price sensitive market, and it's not always easy to find the exact right price for every property either. Some properties are a condo and there's 3 recent sales of that exact model and you know where you need to go with it. Most of our properties are not like that, and you have a range that the house might sell in, and you need to make sure that you go on the market in that range, that you have excellent marketing. It's always price, marketing, and condition. Prepare the house so that it shows well. Every circumstance is a little different, so sometimes there's more preparation than others. At the right price, you can still have an as-is sale, but price, condition, and marketing, and if you are within a range of value, you do need to go in knowing that if you come to the top of a range, you may need to reduce to get that offer. We had that listing on Redwood, $599 asking price, and we were about 42 days in, I believe, before we did the price reduction. We dropped from $599 to $580. Within 2 days, we had 2 offers for $580. Wow. So that one just really shows how price sensitive the market is. And if you're unsure about any of this stuff, you can reach me or Colin or Ken anytime. We're happy to answer your questions, and we'll bring you another video as soon as more of this lawsuit stuff gets released.
Thanks for joining us once again, and we'll hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Bye.